Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be hailing from. This is Red Hat Enterprise Linux Presents, our special mini-series alongside Red Hat Insights called Modernizing RHEL Management. This is episode 3 out of 10, as this is a mini-series. And today we are going to be talking about simplifying patch management. And so joining me every single episode, all 3 of them so far, is Mr. John Spinks.
Hey, Eric, how you doing today?
Oh, not too bad. We're dealing with some back end issues, but I think we can muddle through. And what's life without a little extra challenge, right?
It's not the kind of technical challenges I wanted, but it's the kind that we have, so we'll work with them. It's okay.
Right. We're here to fix RHEL issues, not streaming issues. But
exactly, such as life.
But you will notice our screen shares a little fuzzy today. I've actually engaged the online support team, so we're working on it. We're aware of it, so bear with us. But other than that, I think we're good to go. So quick recap, episode 1, we talked about what Insights is. We talked about some of the data privacy concerns. We talked about how to get systems registered with Insights. Last week, we took a look at how to build images using the online image builder service. We talked about how that can provide a lot of benefits when you're tying into cloud providers like AWS or Google Cloud. And then from there, we actually provisioned a couple of systems, registered them. We'll be using them throughout the rest of the mini-series. And so today we're going to talk about what happens when you have patches that come out and how Red Hat Insights can actually help you manage your Red Hat Enterprise Linux fleet. So why don't we dive in?
And if you think about those last couple episodes, like that very first one, it's kind of just setting the stage. There's not a whole lot new, so to speak. Like that's just what is Insights. But last week when we talked about creating an image, launching that image, that's all brand new stuff. This is stuff that we just released at Summit. And then today, even though we're talking about patching has been around. Like that's probably one of the key things that any sysadmin does in their day. A lot of the features that we're talking about today are new as well, or at least on the newer side of things. So there's a lot of capabilities here that for Insights are new. For other system management tools, maybe they've been around for a while. One of the big tools that we have at Red Hat is, of course, Satellite. Insights, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, is included with RHEL, but Satellite's an additional purchase. We're going to touch on it more at the end of the series, but for today, let's just say, if you're a Satellite user, use Satellite to patch. Don't use Insights. If you're not a Satellite user, or if you have systems outside of your Satellite that are connected through Insights, Insights can be a great choice. Satellite has very robust and mature content management. We've just kind of got the beginning of things on the Insight side. But we're really not going to focus on Satellite on the series, so we're going to log into the console. And at the end of the last episode, if you recall, we had a system up and running that we had created an image and launched that image. So we're going to take a look at that system first and see what kind of patches are needed. All right, so let me log into Insights. Yep. I'm going to click into my inventory and go to Systems. And then we had named that system last week Mini Series 01. So I'm just going to type in Mini. All right, so I got a couple systems in here. Last week we created 2 systems, but we're only going to update one. So Mini Series 01 is what we're going to look at. Here's our system properties. And I've got these tabs up here looking at the various services for Insights. I'm just going to click on that patch tab. So as you see here, I've got 2 patches on this brand new system. We created an image of the newest RHEL, so that's pretty expected. If you build a brand new system, you create a golden image, you've got all your patches applied before you deploy it, you're not going to have a whole lot of interesting stuff to look at for that fresh brand new system. Expected. If you look at these 2 patches that I have here, August 1st and August 7th, so they're both very new patches. When we did last week's episode, there would have only been one. So these things are happening fast. Patches happen. Eric, how often did you patch in your sysadmin days?
My personal systems, like utility servers and that kind of thing, I patch nightly, but those are like sysadmin backend stuff, and that would scare anyone who is an application administrator in the audience. But as far as production servers, we had a quarterly patch cycle where we do dev and test. 1 month we do QA and any of our other testing environments. The second month of the quarter, and then the third month of the quarter, we'd patch production.
Yeah, my last sysadmin gig was primarily a Microsoft shop, so Patch Tuesdays were big. We had Linux system, we had AIX, AS400. So we tended to do the Patch Tuesdays, and then past that, it was a lot of monthlies. But the point there is, hey, I've got these brand new patches that just released. One of them dropped yesterday. I'm probably not applying that in prod. So one of the things that we have inside Insights is a basic implementation of a patch template. We expect this to improve over time. And what we're going to do is take a look at those. So we're going to go into content, patch, and then templates. So I've got a couple templates that some of my peers have created out here, but we're going to create a template real quick. And let's say maybe the last round of approved patches. I'm going to go back in time a little bit on purpose. I think because of my screen resolution, it's not popping up my calendar picker that was there earlier today. Say March 1st. So that was our Q1 patches. We're going to call this thing Q1 2023 patches. And this is all patches that are approved in Q1. All right. So note that up the top, if you apply a template to a system that already has one, the old template will be overwritten. So that system will be pulled out. I'm going to look at all of my systems that are my Durham systems, DUR. So they're located in my Durham data center. They're actually in the cloud, but I call them my Durham systems. I've got 14 of them. So I'm going to click the box here, check all 14. You can see here that they currently have no template assigned in that template column. And that includes our 2 mini series ones here. So I'll click next, and we're going to review March 1st, 2023, and hit submit. All right. So we've just created this basic form of, on the satellite side, we call content management. We've said, hey, we've only approved patches up to a certain date. I'm going to go into my systems list. And what I will see here in this list, if I look at things like my mini series systems, it's down here at the bottom, is now telling me no applicable advisories. We saw a minute ago on that host that there were 2 patches. So I'm going to go ahead and click into that. My mini series 01. Now, interestingly, it's telling me that I've got 13 different statuses. They are applicable, but they are not installable. I'm not sure why I just swapped to 13. A new thing might have just happened, because that is how life goes when you are demoing something new. Yeah, I think we just moved from 2 to 13. That is wild. Such is life. 1604. Yeah, so I think we just got a new update. Fun. So what I see here, though, is applicable status. These patches exist, but if I go into my filter, status, installable, I'm not actually able to install any of these because of that template that I put into place, saying that you're only allowed to have data that's good up through March 1st in this case. So this is just kind of showing you some of that control that you have. Let's see. If I go back to my list of systems, I'm going to pick one that's been around for a while. This system's a little bit crustier. It's been running in the corner. I've got this pick Durham 08 here, and it's got 129 or so patches that are listed right here as installable. So if I click into the host, remember that number? So 129.
129.
If I log in and look at it, now I'm seeing 266. So again, what's up? It's the same thing. It's applicable versus installable. These patches exist. They affect the system, but I basically told Insights to ignore it as an installable package. So if I go into my status, go into installable, there's my 129. these are the things that I can actually install on the host. If I were to clear this out and say, I want to fix this PostgreSQL vulnerability, I can't actually click that checkbox. It's hard to tell maybe with the colors. I know it's a little bit fuzzy, but that's grayed out. It's unavailable. I can't click that versus one that is installable. I go back to the installable status. Here's all my installable ones. I can actually click these and notice that remediate button becomes available. So I have taken away the ability to run that particular patch job.
So with a patch that is available but not installable, is that does that reflect that maybe that package isn't installed, or is that more of a Z-Stream thing that maybe you have a newer version of the software, so that patch itself is no longer required? What's kind of the difference there?
In this case, because we're basically saying we've only allowed patches up to a certain point, the host still needs that patch to be considered fully patched, but we're telling it that you can't install it. We're basically saying, hey, this is a thing that is indeed applicable to your system, but something in your settings do not allow you to install it.
Great clarification there.
So if I go into the templates again, let's say we just had a big round of patch approvals go in this last weekend, I'm going to create a new template. See, my date picker pops up in the corner, but I think because we tried to play with the resolution a lot to make it less fuzzy. Go back yeah, it just pops up. So let's create one that is maybe 0806. That's Sunday, I believe. So say Sunday, our team was in, they reviewed a bunch of patches, they approved a whole bunch more. We're ready for these are now our 2023 Q3 patches. Click next. Again, I'm going to put in all my DUR systems. I've selected 14. Remember this highlight. These are the same systems. And if I apply a template to a system that already has one, it's going to override it. So when I click next and then submit, I'm going to go back and look at my templates. I previously had my Q1 patches. Now it says no systems applied because I put all 14 of those systems into the new template. I've basically said, hey, you've got new approvals, you've got new patches available. So when I return to those systems, when I hit our 08 again, we had, was it 129? So now we're at 250-ish. So we've gone up by a good bit. And if I click into this host, it's the same kind of thing. I still have 266 total patches that are applicable and installable. But if I look just at installable, we're now at 253. So we've increased the number of patches that we are able to apply on these systems by manipulating these templates. I feel like it makes sense, Eric.
Love it.
All right, I'm going to go back into this mini series DUR 01. And we've got, again, a number of patches. When we first started, I think we had a Insights update, but now we've got a bunch of new things here. Oh, look at them. Look, the dates are all today. So these literally just landed.
Somebody went in and was adding stuff to your environment.
Somebody really pushed the button because when we first started, we were only looking at these two at the bottom.
They knew we were talking about patching today.
Exactly. But what's happened here is in our status, 13 out of these 13, there's only one that's installable because we set that date to be the 6th. So Sunday, somebody went through, approved all these patches. And just like what might happen to you, you've got your patches approved, you're getting ready to apply, and all of a sudden there's all these new patches that land. You don't want to apply these. You haven't tested them. You don't know how it's going to react with your application. So we basically said, yes, you need to address this on this system, but not now, because you said you've only given access to content up through the 6th. Any point in this UI, if now you're like, oh, I got to go report this to my boss, you click this little symbol up here next to the remediate button. You can export that out to a CSV or a JSON. It's a WYSIWYG view. So you go in, you adapt your filters. Maybe you make it, hey, I only want to show the stuff that's applicable but not installable. Run that export. What you have on the screen is exactly what's going to be in that export. All right. Whew, that's pretty wild. So what I'm going to look at real quick is this OpenSSH issue at the bottom. It's an installable one. This one was released on the 1st. It is an important one. It's OpenSSH. This is a security advisory. I can expand that out. I can see just a little bit of information like, hey, there is a CVE associated with this. And if I actually click into the advisory itself, I can see every system that is affected by this advisory. So in my environment, that's 16 systems. Again, I can export that list. So if manager wants to say, hey, I heard about this OpenSSH vulnerability, give me a list of everything affected by it. Click, boom, there's your list. You can send that up the chain.
See, now that's just not fair, because when I was a sysadmin, you know how we got that list? We went system by system, running an RPM-QA. Maybe if we had enough time to figure it out, we'd clean up the output with like CUD and pipes and that kind of thing, and then copy and paste into Excel. That was our reporting feature back in the day.
Yep, same. So what I want to do real quick is show you how we've addressed this patch in Insights. So we got one that's installable. Again, I can't check the button on any of these. We haven't approved this, but on this one OpenSSH update, I can check that box and I can go ahead and say remediate. I could go into that other view and I could actually remediate that across all of my systems that are impacted by this vulnerability, by this particular patch. But I'm just going to hit this remediate button. We're going to do this. Mini series of 1 fix. Click next. I'm going to review our systems. I've just added one system to this. This is a super simple example. I'm fixing one thing on one system. This is about as easy as it gets, but you could add multiple things to this remediation plan. I'm just going to add my RHSA on my one system. Click submit. And this has just created for me essentially an Ansible playbook. So if I click go to the system here, notice in the left nav, it has redirected me under automation toolkit to remediations. And it's showing me this mini series 01 fix. Again, single action on a single system. This is a super simple requirement. It does tell me that a reboot is not required in this. If a reboot was required, you can turn that off. So I have a turn on, turn off toggle here. I don't need it for this system. We're just going to essentially restart the package, restart the service, but I can download this playbook. That pops it into a zip file. Give me a second. I'm going to open this up for you. And make it a little larger. All right. So this is the playbook that we just generated on demand. So this is really going to shorten your time to fix something like this. So we're going to apply this particular errata. We're going to update the packages as the fix. Notice throughout this, there is an Insight signature. This is for the purpose of if you are going to run this through Insights, either directly through a direct connected system or through a satellite connected system. Either way, we sign this to make sure that nothing has been injected into this playbook along the way. So you'll see this signature a couple times. If you're just going to download the playbook and then run it with like Ansible Automation Platform, you don't have to worry about this. But this is in here to make sure that anything we execute through Insights is secure. So I'm going to scroll down. We've got become equals true. We're going to check for the update. Once we're done updating, we're going to run Insights again. This is basically going to do another quick check and then tell Insights, hey, we fixed it. And we're done. So that's that playbook. It is pretty darn simple. And I'm going to switch my screen back here as soon as my mouse wakes up. Hello. All right, we'll switch back over here onto Insights. And I am going to actually execute this playbook from inside the UI. This is included with the RHEL subscription again, but it does require a little bit of additional setup that I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to show you at this particular second, but I do want to talk about it. By default, nobody has the remediations administrator role. That's the role you need in order to actually execute this playbook. That's a security thing. We want this to be explicitly assigned to a user, and only the org admin by default can assign that. So I have all the appropriate role settings permissions. So I'm actually able to click this execute playbook button. I just wanted to highlight that not anybody in your account can go out and click this button. It has to be, that permission has to be given. My system is directly connected. If you remember back to last episode where we launched this, we did it all through Image Builder inside of Insights. We created this in AWS, so we're not connected through a satellite at this point. If you were connected through a satellite, it would say satellite here, and it would have the name of your satellite. It also does a pre-flight check to let me know that this is ready. So we're in a ready state. I can click the Execute Playbook button. That's going to send that playbook to the host to run it. If you're connected through a satellite, it will send the playbook to the satellite, onto any capsule servers that you may have, and then ultimately use Ansible remote execution to run that playbook on the satellite. For us, since we're just doing it on a local machine, we've got Ansible Core installed. Oops, and that failed because, again, live demo, that's fun. So let me look real quick and see what's going on. Oh, for some reason, we had a SSH issue connecting to the host, which is weird, but that's okay. That's a thing that I can fix. I'm going to show you one that ran earlier today because we prepare for these things in case they do fail during the series. So this is the same RHSA on a different system. What this would look like on this host is you would see the Ansible playbook running right here. So all it is a couple quick lines that you see, and we've run this. This should have taken about a minute to run on the host. But yeah, again, looks like there's some sort of SSH key thing on that system. I will check that out after we're done with this episode with 7 minutes to go. So live demos are fun. But the thing I wanted to highlight is you can actually fix these issues inside of the UI itself. A few other things I want to show you before we end. Actually, before I do that, Eric, any questions about the remediation or how I was able to kind of run that remediation?
Yeah, in fact, got a great question just came in from Richard. He asks if you can schedule a time that the playbook will be run and link it to, and then part B of that question is, can you add additional pre and post actions to that playbook?
Today, inside Insights, you cannot schedule. It's on demand. So if you want to schedule, we highly suggest you look at something like Ansible Automation Platform or just upstream Ansible. And that's the place that you would want to inject additional pre or post commands. Insights itself, again, that signature that we showed, we don't want people injecting additional code into these playbooks. So we don't currently allow that type of capability. So if you want to do those type of actions, all of this that you see within the remediations will sync into Ansible Automation Platform, and the automation controller has a section in the documentation on how to do that. Essentially, you create a connection to Insights, you create a project to sync, and all of these playbooks would get pulled down onto your automation platform. It's not quite the same integration we have with Satellite, but it does work really well.
It's a great point. I mean, when you're talking about Red Hat Insights, you are talking about a shared service, and as unlikely as that type of situation is, it's good to know that additional information cannot just be added, even if it is expected or helpful. But being able to tie it into something like Satellite or a Ansible Automation Platform really helps, because AAP and Satellite, you can schedule tasks, and and I know for sure Satellite can do pre and post. So a lot of packages may not require a systems reboot, but may require service to be restarted.
Yeah, and as far as using the Satellite to run the pre or post actions, that's one we'd have to look into a little bit more, because the default behavior of the Satellite is it's going to see that the playbook's available to run and it's going to execute it. It's not going to let you inject additional code. So there may be a way to pull that down and manually use Ansible remote execution inside a Satellite to run that playbook. But the built-in capabilities, just like Insights, it's not going to let you inject any new code into it. So Ansible or some sort of a manual choose your own adventure action on that one.
Gotcha.
And a big part of it, if you think of kind of the life cycle of Insights, until fairly recently, the only things that Insights did was tell you about issues. It didn't actually execute anything. It couldn't actually impact change on a system. So this idea of going out to a hosted service and be able to change your systems, it's a little bit scary to some. So that's why we have some of these extra things in place, like nobody has this access by default. It has to be explicitly provided. there's no way to inject additional actions because you could inject something nefarious. So we've got those signatures in place. If it detects something that's not part of the playbook, it does generate those playbook when you hit that either download or execute playbook button. It's generated at that time. It's not stored anywhere where you can access and manipulate the playbook. So there's a lot of thought there to make sure that those are safe to run in your environments.
So we kind of took this from an environmental approach. We looked at our systems and we looked at what issues were available for those systems. But is there a way, like we got talking in the chat about like 0 days and how difficult it is? Is there a way that we can take this process from the other direction? An advisory comes out, there's an issue, it needs to be resolved. What systems are affected and how can I remediate that?
Well, we should sure take a look at that because apparently a bunch of stuff dropped today. So on my left-hand nav here,
day, none of us know.
under content, I'm going to click advisories and let's take a look at this list. So this is all the advisories that we have available here that impact our systems. We don't show you every possible advisory because, do you care about something that doesn't affect any system? So there's not a view today that will just show you all possible advisories everywhere. It's only advisories that impact the systems in your environment. So if I look here at the top few, we are by order of published date right now. So Postgres, Cloud.init, system debug fix update. That one sounds intriguing. Let me click in on it. So I can see here details about this particular issue. It does require a reboot. I'm going to tap into it. And here's our bug fixes. And again, what I can do here is, hey, boss, I just saw this new RHBA out here. Let's get a list. Let's export this out to a CSV file and let us take or JSON, and then let's take a look at how this impacts our environment because maybe you need to provide this list to somebody. So pretty easy to look at. And as you said, Eric, get a super fast list of what systems are impacted by what advisories.
And fun fact that you can impress your friends with some Red Hat Insights trivia, Advisor was actually the original service that was developed for Red Hat Insights.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to hit that one up next week and talk about it in more detail. So the other thing to highlight here is in this list of advisories, because I've got a small number, 1499 available. So you may want to filter this out. Like maybe we want to look at the most impactful. Maybe we want to see ones that don't require a reboot. Maybe these are things we can take care of faster. Hope numbers down to 1396. That's helpful. Maybe we want to take a look at a focus on security down to 364. And maybe we want to look at, in addition to that, let's see here. I can look at published date. Let's see what's within. We'll just look at the last 7 days because we know there was some activity right here. So again, if I need a list of all security advisories in the last 7 days that don't require a reboot, there they are. I can tap that list, export it to CSV or JSON, and share that out. So that gives us a pretty easy way to get some level of reporting on what's available. This list at the top here is our most impactful advisories, and these are rated by what's most important in affecting the most number of systems. So like this one that was just released on the first, the OpenSSS update, it's important. It affects 33 systems. So it's listed prominently up at the top because this is probably something you want to prioritize. If we think about all of this data that we have out here at Insights, the real goal of this is to give you information on what's going on in your systems and allow you to massage that data and focus on what's most important to you. What is it that you need to fix? What is it that you need to go take action on with the highest level of priority? And this is going to help you get to that kind of information.
One of the first things that I noticed about Insights almost 4 years ago when I first started working with the tool was how everything is linked. Everything is a hyperlink. I mean, it is so easy to go in and start looking at advisories, and those pull up systems, and those systems have packages that are listed. Everything is just everything is tied together. There's links everywhere. A lot of things default to opening in a new tab just so that you don't lose your place. Nowadays you can export, you can generate reports, you can export CSVs. Everything is interconnected. So it feels much more as a unified experience, especially when applied to a large fleet of systems versus back in the day when I had to log into each and every one of my systems one at a time and run a command and then dump all of that into a CSV file manually. It just flows much easier through the different views and through different filters, so I can know exactly what's going on, exactly what could impact my environment, and help you prioritize what systems need to be addressed.
And to your point, we kind of work backwards. Like what it is, I clicked into one of these security advisories. This is that OpenSSH one. And if you started there, like, hey, somebody sent me a link saying you got to check out this new security advisory. Are we impacted by it? In most of these, we now have a link to tell you, hey, Insights can tell you if your systems are affected. View here, you click the link in the security advisory, and it's going to take you to Insights. And then from there, you can see, yeah, that does impact me. There's 16 different systems that have this particular issue. So it kind of works both ways. We're trying to make it really easy for you to find and consume this information. We're almost at time. A couple real quick things I want to hit inside of the patch service. We looked at the advisories view, but I also want to highlight that we have a packages view. So this is super helpful for a lot of people. Maybe you're trying to get rid of Java in your environment and just say, hey, what systems have Java installed? Well, there they are. I've got Java 11 OpenJDK installed on 2 systems, and I can see if I have any applicable or installable systems along with that. TZ'd out of Java. So you can see all that. It's super, and that's really fast to search. And OpenSSH we've been talking about. So there's OpenSSH installed on 63 systems. Really easy to find this data. And in addition to this, we've got the repositories link. This is currently a preview only feature. So if I tap preview mode on, this is going to redirect me into the settings, and I can actually, they might have updated that. It used to be in the settings. Now it's properly in the content page. Excellent. But you can add repositories. So you can put in any kind of custom repositories you want. So URL, architecture, OS version, GPG key, all that information right here. And we do have popular repositories, the most popular one being EPEL. So if you wanted to add EPEL, just tap add, and we've added that EPEL repository for you, or tap remove, and now it's gone. So it makes it really easy to add additional repos right into Insights. You can see some of that data.
Love it.
But that's the key thing we got for you today. I know we're running up against the time.
Yeah, and looks like we did a good job of addressing questions as we went, and I'm glad to see that our mini series live stream audience is growing. Definitely appreciate everyone's participation in the chat. I get paid to speak for a living, if you haven't noticed. So, with that said, John, you want to give us a quick look at what we're talking about next week?
So next week, we're going through this process. Let's say we go through and fully patch a system. It doesn't mean that that system is perfect. So next week, we're going to look at the advisor service and see what kind of proactive information we have. And if there's enough time, we're also going to look at drift and policies. Drift will let you compare systems. So last week, we actually created 2 systems. We've only touched one of them so far. I'll fix this system, and we'll have patched this system by next week. And then we should be able to do a comparison, and we can see where we've applied some patches on the one system, but not on the other. And that will show on our drift service. The policy service will also allow us to look for any kind of custom information that we like. So maybe rather than going into that packages, we want to be automatically notified if we find something with Java. We can set that up right inside Insights.
Awesome. And busy week for RHEL live stream, because also this week on tomorrow actually, we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux Presents, and Brian Smith and I will be interviewing a couple of folks from Red Hat Learning. We'll be talking about certification exams for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, some tips and tricks, and what to expect when you go in either virtually or physically to take one of our exams. We'll talk about the progression from RHCSA to RHCE and beyond. And then on Friday, Into the Terminal wraps up a packaging arc to talk about troubleshooting containerized applications. So we'll break some Podman applications and break some pods, and we'll see if Nate can fix those live on air, because what could possibly go wrong with a pre-broken demo? But that is a ton of content. We've got tech tip videos. We've got past webinars, past live streams, so much that you can check out. So definitely subscribe to our channel, hit that notification icon. That way you get notified anytime we go live or post new content. Or if you're not on YouTube for a living, as some of us seem to be, you can also check us out on Twitter, or X, I guess. Twitter X, go and X me. I don't know, whatever we're calling it these days, and until they come up with some better branding. Go check us out on Twitter at RHEL, and we post all of our webinars, workshops, events, and new content there. So plenty of places to get in touch with us. You can also follow John and myself on Twitter. Links, additional resources, and chapter markers are in the show notes. So definitely check those out. Thank you all for joining us live. Or if you're joining us after the fact, leave us a comment, let us know, and share with a friend. Now that I think I've got through all of the YouTube mandated CTAs. Thank you for joining us on behalf of John Spinks and myself, Eric the IT Guy Hendricks. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.